Hi guys, so I'm back with a new video and let's talk about VHS 85. That's right, there's a bunch of videos coming this month. You have probably seen a ton already because there's just way too many things coming out in October. Besides that, I've also watched a ton of movies during Motel X, as I mentioned, so there's a lot I want to cover. So I'm trying my best to cover as many as I can, but obviously I still have a job and yeah, I still have a life, so I'm sorry if I can't get to everything, and I'm sorry if sometimes the videos aren't as good quality as usually. So yeah, but today I'm here to talk about VHS 85. Just another little disclaimer, it's really hot, so yeah, I know it's October, but it's really hot, so I have to have my window open, so I'm sorry if you hear anything. And now that I got all of that out of the way, let's get to VHS 85. So I did cover VHS 94 when it came out in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. I did not cover VHS 99, which was the one that came out last year. I haven't seen that one yet, so I can't really talk in terms of that one, but I've seen all the other ones, and obviously I've watched this one, and I was pretty excited about 94 when it first came out, but I would say I was more excited about this one because I had the prior knowledge of all the other VHS films. When I watched 94, I haven't seen any of the other ones. Now I have seen pretty much all of them apart from one, and the directors in this one are really good. I would say maybe 3 at least are pretty big names. So my expectations for this one were really high. I had a high standard, and I know what these directors are capable of, so I expect big things. So post that, I don't think I need to talk a lot about what VHS is about. This one is obviously set particularly in 1985, but I think there's a few segments that are just set in the 1980s. Yeah, but it's 85. And this one, the first ones were connected with a story where people watched these VHSs. This one is more of a documentary that features all of these little stories. Obviously there's a connecting story as usual, and the connecting story here is way more important than in the previous films, but I'll get to that. Usually I talk about the people who star in it, but I think with this film it's more important to know the directors of each segment. So the directors here are Scott Derrickson, David Bruckner, Mike P. Nelson, Gigi Saul Guerrero, and Natasha Kermani. The only one that I didn't know the name of was Natasha Kermani. I didn't really know Mike P. Nelson either, but after I checked him out, he's the director of Wrong Turn, and Natasha Kermani directed Lucky, which I did watch last year or the previous year. I'm not really sure, but to me the big names are obviously Scott Derrickson. I think we all know Sinister and The Black Phone, and David Bruckner is he directed some of 2 of the biggest films, The Ritual, the one from Netflix, and The Night House. And I know Gigi Saul Guerrero from, not only she starred in Funhouse, which was the first thing that I like saw her in and I knew her from, but she also directed one of the episodes of Into the Dark, the one called The Culture Shock, and she also directed Bingo Hell, which is one of those films from the Blumhouse like thing with Amazon. So, as I said, big names. And yeah, let's get now to my thoughts. So I'm gonna go from like the first segment to the last segment and then talk about the connecting story. But overall, I really enjoyed this one. I think this one is like really neck and neck with 94, which I think is my favorite, either that one or VHS 2. And this one is pretty similar for the fact that there's a lot of good segments, and I don't think there's one that it's really bad. There's ones that I liked more than others, obviously, but I think they all like bring something, and that's something that I felt with 94 as well. So yeah, if you liked 94, I think you'll like this one. Now, let's start with the first segment. I think this is probably my favorite out of all the ones here, which might not be the best thing, because like if the first one is like really high, then you get bored, but I don't think you get bored. I think there's a lot of interesting things in the other segments as well, but I really liked this one. This one is the one directed by Mike P. Nelson, and I haven't seen Wrong Turn, the new one, but maybe there's something similar. This one takes place in the woods, in a lake, and yeah, there's a ton of things that happen here, and that's a really good thing, because you think it's about one thing, then it's not really about that, then something else happens, and there's a few plot twists in this segment alone, so I really enjoyed that. Segment number 2 is the one directed by Gigi Saul Guerrero, and you'll figure that out like really quickly because it's the only one that is talked in Spanish. So this one is the Spanish one. It has obviously subtitles, and this one has a concept that's similar to the Ratman one from 94. I know I'm comparing this one to 94 a lot, but maybe that's because it's my favorite, and I don't know, I think this one is really, really similar in tone with 94. And this one is a roller coaster, maybe not in the best way, because it starts really slow and I wasn't really into it. Then it just goes like really high, and it gets pretty scary, and a ton of things happen, and yeah, I get really excited about it. Then it gets way too weird. It's not really weird, but I guess it's too much. I think they should have ended with, like, they should have cut the last scene. I don't think it needed the last scene. But yeah, I think it's interesting, but it's not my favorite. There are some elements of like maybe wreck in this one as well, but yeah, I don't know, I enjoyed it, but it's not my favorite. Number 3, it's a really weird one. This one is the one directed by Natasha Kermani, and this one could have been and should have been a Black Mirror episode. This one is better than some Black Mirror episodes. It's really heavy on technology, and it's really weird, but it gets pretty gory at the end. So yeah, it's this one is interesting. It's original in a way, and even though it wasn't one of my favorites, I I can appreciate what it gave us because it has a nice, interesting concept. Number four, it's really, really interesting. It's one of my favorites as well, mainly because it like interacts and it connects to one of the previous ones, and it just makes for a really, really interesting story. Like there, like one of the first segments with this one, all of it connected. It's interesting, and it has some like Purge vibes, which I like the Purge, and yeah, it's one of my favorites as well. I'm not gonna tell you who's the director of this one because it will give away which one it connects to, but maybe you've already figured it out. But yeah, lastly, number five, it's a really interesting and original concept, and this one, it's clearly the Scott Derrickson one. As soon as I saw James Ranson in this one, I knew this was the one directed by Scott Derrickson. And once you figure that out, you'll see that cinematography is exactly what Scott Derrickson usually does. There's some scenes where the editing and the cinematography, it's just like the opening titles of The Black Phone. And those scenes are really interesting and really scary in a way. There's some really scary scenes in this one, and it's gory, obviously. Like VHS is known for being gory, but this one is more like unnerving, and yeah, it just makes you feel weird more than having gore in it. It still has gore, obviously, but yeah, it's more like chilling, and yeah, you know there's something weird to it. This one, yeah, it has like maybe a scream element to it. It's not funny, but it has like a slasher vibe. But there's an interesting concept in this one as well. So like the first one and this one, I think, were my two favorites. And as for the connecting story, as I said, this one is pretty important. However, it wasn't really my favorite, which pains me because this one, like the connecting story, was the one directed by David Bruckner. And yeah, it's a really David Bruckner thing in a way that it deals with entities, and yeah, I just wasn't really into it. I don't know, connecting stories aren't the best. Usually you care more about each segment, which yeah, I wished he had like its own segment. Overall thoughts, as I said, I really enjoyed this one. I noticed this one has way less supernatural horror, and there's also an underlined theme of gods, which was interesting. Like all type of gods, like gods from other worlds, people as gods, like demonic gods. There's a bit of everything. Maybe in some it's not really like the focus, but in one or two, like the gods are really the important part of the segment, which was interesting. Yeah, maybe, I don't know if I was reaching, but I just saw that and I thought it was like, again, interesting. Now let's get to my scores. Overall, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a pretty solid VHS entry. I know people didn't really like the previous one, which was one that I haven't seen yet. I'm definitely gonna check it out, but this one, if you liked 94, you'll like this one. And if you prefer something yeah, if you're not really into supernatural horror, maybe you'll like this one as well. Cinematography, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 because there's some that are like stylized, like the Scott Derrickson one, for example, but overall it's a really standard like found footage type of like cinematography. And originality, I give it a 3.5 out of 5 because I think there are some really interesting concepts in this one, and yeah, that makes me happy because that's what I was expecting from these directors, and like overall I think they delivered. So yeah, guys, these are my thoughts on VHS 85. I'm sorry if this was a little bit long, but yeah, I think this one is coming out the day I'm filming this on Shutter. So if you end up watching it or if you have seen it already, let me know in the comments what you thought. Let me know how it compares to the previous VHS films and which segment was your favorite. Let me know all of that. And yeah, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!